everyone. Welcome and happy Wednesday. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. I'm so grateful you are here. I'm Manuela Contreras, she, her, ella, and I am a Latina caramel skin woman with brown hair, my glasses today, and I am wearing my beaded earrings and standing in front of a virtual green background. I am your host for today, and I'm excited to welcome you to our space. Our Wisdom Wednesday series started with the intention to have nurturing conversations with social justice leaders that are deeply passionate about creating positive impact in our community, but are also prioritizing sustaining their well-being along the way. So in these spaces, in our imperfect spaces, we get to come together to talk about how we do that, how we create this world that we wish to see, while also taking care of ourselves along the way. I am so deeply grateful and honored to welcome Ana Flores to our space today. Ana Flores is a person that I have admired, and not only in the work that she's done with growing and founding We All Grow Latina, which personally has impacted me so much. It is the first space I ever found that of all Latinas, where I learned about healing, I learned about community. And when I tell you it saved me during the pandemic, that is an understatement. The inspiration that I've gotten from Ana, seeing her live in integrity, which is perfect for our conversation, through the decision she's made with her business, but also now how she wants to live her life. It was all of this is the reason why I was inspired to invite her to have these conversations with all of us. So welcome, Ana. Thank you so much for being here.
Hola, Manuela. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. It is such an honor. And I know we have so much that we get to explore and talk about. We would love for folks to see a little bit more of you. So for folks that aren't able to see you, do you mind sharing a visual description?
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, of course. I am also a Latina woman with olive, also caramel kind of sun-kissed skin right now, summer skin with brown eyes. I have blow-dried brown hair today, which is usually wavy curly. Today I'm the woman in red. I am wearing a red shirt, red glasses. I also have my handmade Mexican golden and red earrings. I love wearing handmade, and gold. I'm wearing a gold necklace that was inherited from my mom. And I'm sitting in my house in front of the French doors that go out to my deck in my beautiful garden.
Oh, yes. And if anyone doesn't follow Ana's Instagram, please do. And we get all these beautiful gems of her being out in the mountains and in the forest. We're both sharing these. I have my colibri gold necklace that I just got from Colombia, and it means so, so much to me.
Oh, I have one too, a colibri necklace that was given by my best friends in Mexico for my 50th birthday, which I love. I wish I would have worn it today.
Oh, yes, this was my 30th birthday celebration with our little emerald. And colibri, for those of you that don't know Spanish, it's a hummingbird. And hummingbirds are really, really special to connection to our ancestors. So I love already what we can share with our community. So everyone, for those of you who are just joining us for the first time, or maybe this is the first time joining us for Wisdom Wednesdays specifically, something that we'd love to do before we jump into the conversation is do a somatic practice. So for those of you that are new to somatic practices, the reason why I do it is because it has been a big tool to support my journey out of burnout and my journey towards sustainability. So it's a practice that not only connects to your mind, but it mostly connects to our bodies. Our bodies are a source that can tell us so much. And when we use that as a way to be able to release emotions, which is what we're going to do today, it can help us find a bit of ease in everything that's happening. So I'm going to invite you to join us in this practice. And if you're driving or walking and doing this, take the time to pause or watch this later if this is something that you can do. So I'm going to encourage you, if you can, stand up. And I'm standing at my standing desk today. So put your feet firmly on the ground, one foot with your legs a bit open. And what we're going to do today is an exercise called shaking. Thank you, Anna, for joining me. So what we're going to do is we're going to stand up, and we're just going to slowly start to rock on the heels of both of our feet. So our feet are just going to start going like this. We're going to start, you can bend your knees, and we're going to start to rock our bodies back and forth. Yes. And that rocking is so important and soothing for our body. Then we're going to start to shake. We're going to start, what happens when we start experiencing a lot of high emotions? It kind of feels like a fire in your throat, right? And a really great way to get that emotions is to start physically moving those emotions out of our body. So we're going to actually start shaking our shoulders up and down, shaking our legs and our arms out, and visually imagining all that anger, all that frustration, all that resistance that we're holding on to. Notice and see how it starts to come out of your body. Shake it out with as much strength as you feel like you need to. And depending on the amount that you're holding on to, it can maybe just be your leg, your hands out. Maybe it can be your full arms. Maybe we can rock our legs on the sides of us, just shaking them out. And when we breathe in, we just release with all of that emotions, allowing yourself to hop up and down a little bit. And just as you feel right in the release, in the letting go of all of that, we come back to that gentle rocking, that rocking that is soothing, that allows us to come back to us, that reminds us as the little kids who got nurtured and rocked when we were gentle and taken care of. We slowly come back to that. And then just as slow as we possibly can, we come back to our body, stillness for just a few seconds. Notice any of the energy coming out, any sensations, tingling. Just notice that fully out of your body. And then take a deep breath in through your nose. Release out through your mouth. And allow yourself to arrive. If you need a moment to just put your hand on your heart to be back, then we get to do that. So now we get to sit down. Thank you, Anna, for joining us. Thank you for being with us in that exercise.
Of course. Felt good.
Good. I'm glad to hear. Yes, I had a client this week that just called me with the most overwhelming experience with her boss and just had that fire. And we just did a few seconds of that, and she was able to re-regulate and then her day. So just a few seconds of that. Folks that are trying to figure out how to pause in the middle of a really hard day, you can do that, or any of the other practices we do on these calls. So thank you. I hope that was supportive to all of you. Now, let's get started with our nurturing conversation. So, Anna, we invited you here because we wanted to talk about leading and integrity. As I mentioned earlier, it's been a privilege to witness you throughout your journey. And we see it from the outside in of the choices that you've made. So I'm excited to be able to now sit down with you and share and hear about your journey and your wisdom. Before we get started, for folks that are still getting to know you, would love to start with a bit about your journey, Anna. Really, what called you to say yes to wanting to come to this conversation?
Well, what called me was to be in community with you. Like you said, we have been in community for many years. So the fact that to support you, right, is really important to me. And to really have a space right now that feels safe where we can have conversations that people probably that they know they need, but probably don't know how deeply we need to be reminded, because everything that we're going to talk about, we already know. It's just about the remembrance, about seeing other women that are going through the same things that we are, and dismantling a lot of what we probably think that others are, and how they're showing up in the world, and create a space to have those conversations. So thank you for inviting me.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I love that. You know that feeling we get when we read, we were just talking about this with Rest or Resistance, a book, or I found this a lot in college when I was in my sociology classes and I'd be listening to these theories or concepts. I'm like, this is exactly how I've been feeling. You just put words to everything I just experienced.
Yep. It's a
So
remembrance. It's everything's imprinted already. And until we don't find those mirrors, we might feel lonely. We might feel left out. We might feel like la rara, the weird one, right? But it's just finding each other, finding those mirrors,
yes, thank
coming back to each other in a way.
yes. That
Mhm.
is, I mean, for a lot of us that are really trying to navigate this colonized world and thinking about how we can decolonize ourselves and come back to our ancestors and communities, this is such a small but huge impact way to do that, is coming back to our community and people that I love, you said, make us feel safe. So thank you for that. It's such an honor. And one of the things I'm curious about is, how do you feel well-being has played a role in your journey throughout your career and even now as in through this transition?
Oh, it's the most essential part of it, especially. Listen, I consider myself a trailblazer, and I think that I'm seen and known as that as well, which sounds really beautiful, but I don't think we often see the burden behind it, right? Everything has a yin and yang, everything has a polarity. So being a trailblazer is a beautiful gift to have, which means that I can tap into my vision and into my intuition. I will just get like very deep knowings of where things are going, and it served me really well in my business. But what people fail to see is that trailblazers are very lonely as well, because we usually don't get to see, we don't get to really benefit from the bounty of what we are sowing and the road that we are opening. So if you see it like a deep forest and here comes somebody with a machete just opening up, right? Opening up that space with no guidebook, with no roadmap, and really with no mentors when it's something that's very new. So trailblazers get to always be, pushing ahead and seeing behind us the bounty that's being that's really being I speak in Spanglish, that que se está
Well,
aprovechando, right? That people can really use now from what you have created and what the space that you have opened up. And that is what nurtures us. So that also means that we have to learn to take care of ourselves. And that is positive and negative. Everything, right, has this positive and negative. And for me, what that has meant is that as I was born in Texas, in Houston. My parents are from El Salvador. My dad still lives in Houston. And my mom moved to El Salvador when I was 6, when they divorced. And that I am the first of many girls, of 3 girls on my mom, 2 girls, my mom and dad, 1 more with my mom, 2 more with my dad. But anyway, I am the first. So that in that sense also, right, being the first, you're the trailblazer in the family, la primera nieta, and all that. But I had to learn to self-sustain. I didn't grow up with male figures. My father lived far away, my grandfathers were not really that father figure, etc. So I had to learn to put on the masculine. So when you learn to put on the masculine, I'm really good at taking care of shit. I'm really good at figuring everything out. I'm really good at being the one that, is going to move us forward. But I needed to nurture, and that's where the well-being comes. I've had to go on a path to nurture the creative part of me, the nurturing part of me, the allowing and flowing part of me, the intuitive part that, doesn't need to control everything. And to
Mm,
do that, I needed to tap into my well-being. And since that wasn't something I was really taught, again, I had to learn on my own. But my spirit is that when I learn something, I want to share it. Right.
mm,
And not from the moment I read something and, oh, now I know everything. Let me share with you. I went to a weekend course and now let me be your guide. Right. No, I have to embody it. I have to live it. I have to be it. And
mm,
once I integrate it from that place where I feel the wisdom settling in, that's when I can share it. And that for me is integrity,
mhm.
part of my definition of integrity.
Yes. Oh, no, there's so much alignment. This is what I was so excited about. So much alignment in our definition of integrity, and also the source is what I love about sharing our stories and sharing our journeys is I think of it as the source of why we are who we are. We acknowledge it, we see it, we give honor and respect to it. And it's not everything that we are now, but it definitely seeds so much of how we are. And I love what you're naming, which is that responsibility that we hold as eldest daughters, and as first gens, as immigrants, as folks that have trailblazers. I love that word, but that responsibility of needing to do it all on our own, and the weight that can come from that,
Mhm.
which leads to so much passion and also leads to so much burnout, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Responsibility can be a burden. Right,
Mhm.
with everything, we have the power to reframe how we approach the words and the meaning of the words and how we sustain what responsibility means as well. But at the end of the day, the hardest part, I believe, even for us Latinas and Black women, and like just co- societies that are based on community, um not on very independent interdependent communities, and not very independent, like, which I would say like the United States really breeds that, right?
Mhm.
That's not where I'm going into interdependence of the community, where we need each other, where we are a village, but there's no way to give and to nurture that village if you don't nurture yourself. And
Mhm.
it has to start from that place. And I think so many of us have branded that as selfish, as
Mhm.
ego. It is actually more ego, right? There's actually much more of an ego play when we think that everything has to be done for everybody else, because do we really explore where that is coming from, what that need and what that responsibility is telling us? The
Mhm.
only responsibility we have is to ourselves.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I think of that so much in the sense of we can't receive if we're not ready to receive.
Mhm.
Right? If the cup is closed off because, or it's too full and it's not able to be filled with water, it's because it hasn't had the time to maybe to release, to drop, to. So I think that's a lot of also what I'm hearing in what you're saying. It's the value of, even though we know the importance of community, we know the importance of asking for help, we know the importance of all these different tools and courses and coaches and all these things, how great they are. But if we haven't taken the time to understand ourselves and be ready to receive it, it's not going to be integrated. We're not going to be able to benefit from all these incredible, resources and communities that we have around us. So I love that you name that this is why it's not just important for the before, but it's like the priming that's
Mhm.
needed in order for us to receive everything that folks are looking for: peace, joy, all these big words we're constantly hearing about, right? So special. Anna, you started alluding to this, so I love it. But your definition to integrity, I like for us to really get grounded, because integrity, and as you said, as a writer, your writing is coming out.
Mhm.
We can always rephrase how we look at things, but
Yeah.
I want us to be clear as to like what do we mean by integrity and what we're asking folks to think about. So you alluded to it, but what does integrity really mean to you?
Yeah, I'm so happy that you are really bringing this conversation front and center in a very integral way, because I think so much of what the way people use the word integrity these days has become very performative, and also very much as a, I want to say like a, almost in defense and self-defense, right? Like, oh
Mm,
no, I move with integrity. But I've always been very respectful of the word integrity and how I use it. It actually was one of my words of the years many years ago. And I
mhm,
was very careful in choosing it because I felt it was going to bring me a lot of challenges to show up to it, right?
mhm,
Because when we are telling ourselves, right, that we live in integrity, that is, like my friend Young Pueblo, Diego Perez, says in his books, like, that is radical honesty
mhm,
with yourself, and getting to a place of radical honesty with ourselves. That is, for me, the ultimate expression, the ultimate creative expression of who we are. Now, there's so many layers to that, right? But when I think about integrity, to me, it means living in alignment between what I feel inside and how I show up in the world.
mhm,
So integrity is having the courage, and that's where I feel that the performative part is, and the radical honesty part comes in play. How often do we think of integrity tied to courage, right?
mhm,
Because when we listen to these inner whispers that our soul is telling us, that our whole body, right, our body carries information not only from this lifetime but from other lifetimes and from generations, our intergeneration and our ancestors, right? When we're listening to those cues from our soul, from our body, from our heart,
mhm,
and when we go against those, and like, how do we honor that? It takes courage to
mhm,
honor those whispers, even especially when they go against external expectations or what looks successful from the outside, right? All those uh good meaning, well-meaning advice that the people that love us, or even those that don't, that want to tell us, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, why aren't you successful enough, you have what it takes, etc., right? Like, going against those external expectations, or you should be going to college, you should be taking that job, and you're like, pero es que no, it does it's there's something that's telling me that that's not right for me,
mhm,
right? And ultimate integrity is listening to that and having the courage to trust in
mhm.
your own inner knowing.
Oh, so incredible. I love this so much in so many depths that you're bringing to this word. One of the things I really want to make sure that we acknowledge that you said and you tied into it earlier is the embodiment of what
Mm,
you're saying. Like, we need to be in integrity before we go out and try to claim it. And that integration and that piece can take time.
yeah.
That radical knowing, because sometimes so much of our programming, of our conditioning, doesn't come from ourselves. It comes from what we've been told. Exactly. I actually have a rule with my clients where anytime they use, or any of us use the word should, we have to pause and
Mm.
ask ourselves,
Who's saying
where
that? Whose voice is that? Mhm.
it's, and some, and I say it because I'm okay to be corrected, I'm okay to be wrong, but I'm like 98% or 99.9% of the time it's not coming from you. If it is, great, then we acknowledge it and we move forward. But almost always it's not. And when that moment does happen, we get to then choose, when we pause
Mhm.
and stop to say, where's that coming from? We get to then choose what is actually in integrity to us, what is actually aligned to us. But a lot of that times, because of the road, the going through it, right? Especially,
Hard.
yeah, it's
It's
very.
really hard. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, because I also want to add to that, that I don't think any of us will ever live in full integrity. We'd be
Mm,
the Buddha, we'd be Jesus. And not even that, right? Like, it's a really difficult, it's something that we want to aim towards, right? To
mm,
be in integrity. The other word I love that is aligned with integrity is congruence. That's also like,
mm,
I have, I congruence for me is more in those, in my congruent in my actions, in my daily actions, in the way I show up. You know what? Maybe I'm not congruent all the time. I just shopped Amazon when I wish I didn't.
mhm,
But I already paid for that Prime for the whole year, and I'm in a financial situation right now, and I need the free shipping. We
Right.
make choices all the time, but,
Yeah.
I'm shopping maybe 80% less than I used to. We
Mhm.
adapt to, and that's just one silly example, but we
Mhm.
adapt what we can every time, because I also don't want to go to the place where we are honoring and putting the word integrity in some altar that is unattainable. And then we do that to self sabotage ourselves and to enter feelings of shame of, why am I not living in that place? Why am I not acting in this way? We all have to always just ground in what is our reality, what is our present reality, what are we capable of doing, and what is going to move me forward in my day to day.
Yes, exactly. I love that because it's so important. This word that is meant to support us, we cannot let it now hurt us
Mhm.
with the desire to want to be it so badly. So I think this is so important that you're naming that. That's why a lot of what we talk about here is the imperfect action. We're
Mhm.
not asking you now to just be this perfect person and do all these things quote unquote right, which again that is very subjective, but it's more of so reclaiming the choices that maybe times it hasn't felt like there are choices, and
Mhm.
not from a place of always needing to be perfect, but from a place of I'm conscious of it. If today I had to make the Amazon order because it was what my household needed, my family needed, my budget, my time, how am I conscious of that, and then also conscious of also supporting that in connection to another. So I'm very much in
Mhm.
alignment to that of how we think about that, and welcome all of us to be in that. It's not let the pressure of needing to do it right or perfectly stop us from making small steps towards what you do want to do,
Mhm.
what does feel good. We're all going to be imperfect and making
Oh
mistakes.
yeah, we have to be imperfect. We have to.
Yes, exactly. So, so important for us to talk about that, the complexities of all of it. I think what I loved hearing you talk about with integrity here is you said it when I chose this as my name, as my word of the year, I knew it was going to be a difficult year, is what I heard.
I knew it, but I was like, this is where I'm ready to go.
So can you share a little bit, Anna, about that challenge, maybe the challenges, a moment that really when you felt like you had to make a difficult decision, when you had to be really true to your integrity. How
Yeah.
was that? What was that process for you, and the making of it, and then
Mhm.
also after kind of managing those
Mhm.
decisions?
Yeah. So there's, these decisions and choices happen every day at every moment. Every choice we make, I think we're making a choice with integrity in mind and congruency in mind, right? What feels right, what doesn't feel right. At the end of the day, it's about how we feel, right? How it makes us feel. But the example I'm going to give is actually a really big one that happens a lot for entrepreneurs. I mean, I think one of the hardest parts for me being an entrepreneur, even though my company was always as truthful and as honest and showing up with the most integrity possible, it was hard. We work with brands. There was only so much that we could control, and we needed to keep the business alive, because part of that, what was meaningful to us, was to be able to pay people.
Mhm.
Right? Was to be able to sustain a business that was offering community for free for so many women, right? And so many opportunities that were free. But behind the scenes, that meant that there were moments where our integrity had to be compromised, or how we would alchemize these dollars to put them out into the world. But a specific example was actually the same year that I chose integrity as my word of the year. We were launching a brand new offering. The We All Grow Summit was really what defined us as a company, as a community. And I launched that in 2015 with the team and the partners that I had at the time. We're talking now 2023. Our last summit had been in 2022. I just did not feel in anywhere in me that I had the capacity to do that again. It was a very difficult event to put together for 3 days. And everything had shifted after 2020. Just things had really shifted. Everything was much more expensive. But we knew that we needed to keep bringing the community together. So I wanted to reinvent a way to do that. So I came up with what was called the Weekend Fest, which was going to be just 2 days, but you could choose to go either on Saturday or on Sunday. And it was our two one-day events that were really popular. One was Wellness Day, which I launched Wellness Day in 2018. It was the first platform to elevate Latina women in wellness. And most of the ones that you know now hadn't even started back then. A lot of women came to the space and were like, oh my God, I can do this for a living. Like, I can be a sound healer. I can be a coach. I can be a breathwork practitioner. Like, I've been feeling that in my soul for such a long time, but I didn't know that I could actually do this. Right. So anyway, I wanted to bring Wellness Day back and Las Founders. So we put them together into this day. Everything was going beautiful. For an event like this, you have to start planning almost a year in advance. So like we announced it like 6 months in advance. 6 weeks before the conference, this was happening in Hotel Maya, which was our hotel where we had originally done Summit for a few years, and people loved it. Waterfront, gorgeous. And 6 weeks before, we learned that the hotel workers union strike that was happening in Southern California, they were striking around 160 hotels in Southern California. And there were 3 that were the main target, and one of them was Hotel Maya. And they had been striking there, etc. Mind you, around 60% of the members of the hotel workers union strike are Latina women. And these would look like our community's aunts, sisters, mothers, grandmothers themselves, like this was also our community. So it was really hard. The event was mostly, like, most of our sponsorships had already signed up. It was sold out. We had around 500 tickets, and we spoke with the union, and we understood. We knew that if we crossed that picket line, that would be the ultimate test of our integrity, and that all of the most important currency for me with We All Grow was trust. And we had built trust for over 12 years at the time with our community and with our partners, our brand partners. So we knew that it was going to be our downfall. That was actually what was the beginning of the end. But we knew that it even hurt as I said it, but we knew that we needed to make the decision at the time. And this word of the year also kept coming, like, okay, are you going to show up? Like, you chose it. I was like, I knew this was going to be hard, but not this hard. Like, I know now every time I choose a word that it comes like hard. It's a beautiful practice. The word of the year, it comes hard. It was like, okay. I see it. Like, there's nothing else. Like, we have to postpone. But we postponed, but eventually we had to cancel because they did not come to the table until 10 months later for a lot of different reasons. But at the end, almost a year later, we received a letter from the union thanking us, that us doing that act of canceling actually was one of the most important negotiation points that they had, and that really supported them. And, we don't say it that much aloud. I know, like with Vanessa, my ex co-CEO, we would talk about that a lot. Like, just like, we don't even say it as much. Like, people probably don't understand really the stand that we took. We're not that performative, but it really was the beginning of the end for us. It was really hard to recover from that. We lost money. I mean, we had to refund all of the tickets because that's part of our integrity, right? We refunded every single penny to the community, to everybody who had bought a ticket. We had to negotiate with every single sponsor, which meant we spent almost all of last year doing make goods with sponsors, meaning they didn't ask for their money back that they had already paid, but all of last year was really, we didn't have a lot of revenue to move with because we were having to create campaigns to make good for the sponsorship that we couldn't deliver. At the end of the day, the sponsors were also very happy that we allowed them to show up and to take a stand. They supported us when they knew that we needed to do this. So they were like, okay, we support you. Let's figure out another way of making this happen. So, that was beautiful to see the ripple effect, to also see them. Most of our clients were either Latina, Latinos, or Black. And the ones, our direct client, and they were like, thank you for, allowing us to help out in a way. So yeah, that is a big one. I
Yeah.
hope not everybody has to go through something like that if you choose it as your word of the year. But life will test you, because that's really where you can put to test also that radical honesty with yourself.
Yes, absolutely, Anna. You're getting so much love and
Oh, thank
experience in the chat, just of folks being with you. We
you.
were people that were able to experience that decision. And as someone that was so ready to be there that weekend, when I got that message, I understood. There was nothing else but respect and love and also pain as well, because I knew how difficult, as someone who has organized conferences and organized events and
Hard.
been on teams of thousands and thousands of people for a conference, making those decisions were huge. And you were the first organization that I ever saw make a decision like this, which is one of the first times I got to witness and again associate you with that word of integrity, because I could see the lessons that came from it and why you chose that. Now having some time away from it and really, because it's been a few years now, and also having the wisdom now of the ripples that did lead to. What do you think are some of your biggest learnings, or experiences from that you are now taking away from?
The word that came to me was trust.
Mhm,
Trust in that, when you know in your heart and your soul that you're doing the right thing, even though everything around you is falling apart. What's falling apart is the physical reality. What's
mm,
falling apart is the 3D illusion that we live in, right? All of that can be rebuilt. All of that can be reshaped, reformed, reframed, etc. Yes, it's going to take work, but what's in here, then the knowing, that you did not, that you did not betray yourself,
mm,
um, is the most important thing, because otherwise you will carry that, and that will ripple into so many other things in your life when it's something that you know that you have betrayed yourself. So the trusting that when you are being called to do the right thing, to show up with integrity, to show up with honesty, with the impeccability of your words, like Don Miguel Ruiz says, one of
mm,
the four
mm,
agreements that for me is probably the one I uphold the most. It's the
mhm,
impeccability of your words, right? It's not just like lo que te prometí hoy. It's like overall what you stand for, what you show up in the world saying that you're about. And
mhm,
having the courage, but the trust that even though things are going to fall apart and things are going to be difficult and you're going to be walking through muddy waters, that on the other side there's something beautiful waiting for you. And
mhm,
it won't come in your time frame, and it won't come in your timeline, because those are things we just want to control. We have no control over any of that. Right?
mhm.
Life is chaos, life is change. That's all we know for certain. So sometimes it's okay to allow a little bit of chaos in your life, because if you trust that you're always going to be held, protected, and taken care of, and that it will happen. Things are going to look different. Some people might leave your life. Some things might completely fall apart, go up in flames, whatever it may be, but always trusting that if you keep this connected, always, you're going to be okay.
Yes. Oh, so important for folks to hear. We're getting a lot of messages about how
I
powerful
would choose it again.
God,
Yes. Mhm.
yes, and that you would choose, like, knowing that this would be the choice.
Yeah.
One.
No, absolutely. There was really no moment of saying, like, of making the other choice, the alternative of having the event. There it
Mhm,
wasn't. And I knew what it was gonna meant. Like, it meant immediately I had to take a pay cut of almost 40% of my paycheck. We had to let go of a few people that we didn't want to let go. We
mhm,
had to like the ripple effect was immediate, and it was
mhm,
hard.
mhm.
And that also meant that the following year, which was last year, 2023, the
Yeah.
team, was so small and we needed to keep doing really, really big things. They were all showing up with love for the work. They were burning out. And seeing their burnout and seeing my burnout was also something that did not land well with me, did not land with integrity for me. I was like, I cannot be saying that we're creating businesses with ease and that we want to do this with ease when we don't have ease.
Mm.
And it gets to a point where you're like, is there anything else that I can do within this system that we exist in that doesn't want to support women like us, that doesn't want to support businesses like us? Is it possible to manage a company at this scale, doing the right thing, paying benefits, not paying the salaries that I wish we could, everything, because the reality of the company and the budgets that we were working with just didn't match it, just didn't allow it. So there's so many, so many pieces to that, right? Where you seeing like, yeah, this is a beautiful company. It puts out so much into the world. This is the effort worth it?
Exactly. Exactly. And those are the questions that we do need to think about. I think a lot of what's coming up for me, Anna, is I'm thinking about our audience, are people that are in these positions of having to make these decisions. Either a business owner that was able to grow and expand as we all grow, or maybe a leader within an organization that is at a point of having to make these decisions about their foundation or their business or their team. What would you invite them to think about in
Mm.
that process of whether
Ooh.
to make that decision, or what can come from it? I'm just curious what advice you would give in that place.
Well, I'm thinking about like how to honor their own values, right? And so many of us are, well, all of us exist right now in society built by capitalism, built by colonization, as you said, built by patriarchy that rewards hustle over integrity, over authenticity, over our values. That's just the way things have been built. So, what I would invite all of you is to release the pressure from yourself,
Mm,
because it's to recognize that this pressure to hustle harder comes from systems that were not designed and will never be designed for our success in the first place. That's not how the system is designed. It is designed to keep us completely exhausted, to keep us disconnected from our bodies, from our sense of well-being, from communities, isolated. I mean, it feels dark, but we have to confront we have to confront the play field. We have to know what we're playing with,
yeah.
so that we also know where we can remove that pressure from us and then find that space where we actually have power. And you
Mm,
mentioned it earlier. You mentioned the pause. The pause is something that I talk about a lot in my book, Done with the Hustle, which will come out next year. But it all starts with emptying that vessel, us emptying that vessel so that we can see clearly. And then, right, because this vessel that we have right now probably has been, everything that's in there, when we really look at it, we're like, okay, this is my mom's. This is my best friend's. This is my ex-boyfriend's husband. This is my child. This is my job. This, like, all of these things that we put in there, most of them we didn't choose. We accepted,
mm,
right? As, oh, I'm the responsible one. I'm supposed to be doing this. I should, right?
mm,
But when
mm,
we slowly, carefully, with love, start looking at it and start deciding, I te entrego eso a ti de regreso. This belongs to you. This is
mhm,
not my responsibility. I start cutting those cords and I start releasing that from it. And I see that vessel and I'm like, okay, now I have the choice to, what do I put back in? What do I want my day to look like? What do I want my job to feel like, right? Because even if you're in a job, in a place where you're like, this isn't really where I want to be, but I know I need to, because I have a mortgage, because I have a child, because I need the healthcare benefits. All of that is real as well, because again, we live in a system that controls us in that way.
Mhm.
So we can make choices in how we start showing up and creating little pauses in our day that allow us to feel human again and to
Mhm.
make those decisions from a different place. So the first, I mean, there's so much to it, but the first invitation is to be gentle with yourself and to know that it's not on you. It's not on you. We exist in a system that does not want to see us succeed. So what we do is we come back to us and we redefine what success means to us in our day to day. And that is success that is attainable, not the external one that's telling us what we need to do to be in the front cover of magazines, to be invited to all the podcasts, to be the number one at this, to get all the, to get the valuation for our business and to get none of that matters. It doesn't.
So I'm glad that people get to witness and hear this from you who has had those experiences, who's had that experience and has seen that entire journey through and now can speak from embodied and lived experience like this is the truth. This is what's really important for us to recognize because sometimes when we are just starting or experiencing, it's really easy to get pulled into that path.
It's
That
so
just it's exactly. So one of the things I'm hearing, and it's going to go perfectly into this next section we wanted to talk about, which was your this season that you're in right now, which folks need to hear about. I'm so excited for folks to hear about it. And also, before we jump into that, I want to share a story with our community and folks that are listening about this story that really I've connected with. I got to experience it from a fellow amiga in a mastermind that I'm in Wendy Amara's Latina mastermind. And she shared this story about a lighthouse. And I share this with a reason. So stay with me. The story goes that there was this man or these people that saw all of these people out in the water, really swimming in darkness and having a hard time. And their instinct was to go out on a boat and swim out and try to pick as many people up and bring them onto the boat and bring them onto the boat. However, something that they did not recognize that the most powerful way to actually be able to help all of those people that are in the water trying to navigate the waves and everything, it wasn't being in the lighthouse, it wasn't being in the boat trying to swim to everyone and exhaust yourself. It was actually standing strong at the lighthouse and allowing the lighthouse to guide and being strong and guide folks so folks can find their way to shore. And that story for me resonated so much because so much of the times we try to be that person on the lifeboat, going out and doing all the things and trying to bring them with the biggest heart and the biggest intention. And also, when we get to be the lighthouse that stands strong, when I think of the lighthouse, I think of being in integrity, of being in our values, of beaming bright. We can be an example to other people. And that has been one of the biggest takeaways I've gotten from this entire journey of having the courage to leave it all and try to do something completely different. I've been in awe with the people that have come to me and said, because of you, it's inspired me to X. And I say that with full humility and love in the sense of when sometimes we put a lot of guilt on ourselves to take care and leave places that are normalized to be successful or comfortable because we need to do that for ourselves, but there's so much that can come from it. So I share that story because I think it also resonates, Anna, with where you are in this beautiful chapter of being done with the hustle. And I think folks, it'll be important for folks to hear from that of now these decisions, everything you just shared, this journey and these transition led you to now this moment, your book, your community, you reimagining what it looks like to be in community. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Done with the Hustle and also, how it feels like to be now in a place to also call folks in to being in this place of wanting to sustain your well-being and live in alignment to your values?
Thanks for sharing that story. It's a beautiful. beautiful one. Every time I listen to it, I just love seeing it, right? It's so visual, and seeing this lighthouse and us being the lighthouse and really being that light that can illuminate everything. Because you hear this probably a lot, that you can walk into a dark room, it can be black, 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 everything around you can be black, and it only takes that you light a velita or you turn on a switch, right? And who is that switch? Who is that velita? It lights up the whole room. So it really comes from that. With We All Grow, really, we like to call it the ripple effect as well. It comes from that. Our last logo, the one that's current right now, still, for those of you that know, we sold the company in a fire sale early this year to a beautiful nonprofit called ASE. And they're really upholding the values of We All Grow, have even hired some of our previous community manager, Ayla and Priscilla. So, I mean, the heart is still there. So I want you to still be part of it. And that logo represents really like we are the center. And then there's like, it looks like rainbows coming out. That's the ripple effect of what we grow. But it starts here, right? It starts with the circle. It starts with the you. It starts with the me. And for me, I'll tell you a story. One of the things that was really important for me to understand as a Latina woman, eldest daughter, etc., that always thought that and from the calladita te ves más bonita culture, like very much so, that was one of the hardest things, was that I never asked for help, right? I could figure it out. I had my own resources. Asking for help was shameful, right? It meant that you didn't know what you were doing and people could not find out. But it was also like, I'm talking about calladita from like, I used to, if you would invite me to your house and be like, ¿Quieres un vaso de agua? I'd be like, no, gracias, no te molesto. Like, I don't want to bother you, right? Like, you never want to bother somebody.
Yeah.
So imagine me building a community, first of influencers and entrepreneurs, just women, amigas, and it was really hard for me to understand that we, from when one grows, we all grow, included me. And it took my therapist like 7 years ago to tell me that directly. She's like, Anna, you understand that the we and we all grow includes you. So I built this circle of support and the circle of containment, but I would put myself outside of it. But I really needed to come in and be inside. And even the original logo of We All Grow were steps. It was linear, right? It was that image of like a woman, you go up one step and then you pull up the other and you pull up the other and you pull up the other. Until I came to the understanding that real growth is not linear. Real growth is always going to be changing and shifting, but at the center of it is always going to be what we need, this circle of support, which includes us. It can never be aside from us. And it ripples out of us. Anything we want to see a change in the world does not start by us pushing, demanding, trying to make the shift happen. We might see it budge, we might see it move, right? But at the end of the day, it starts with us. And we see it even in politics, right? We can't change the system. But the one thing that we do have that has power, knock on wood, that still has power, is our vote. That one person, right? You taking the time and doing that vote, and then the accumulation of all of that then has a result. Why isn't that the same way in how we vote for each other's and the actions that we take every single day in our life? And thinking first about how, if this is going to bring joy to me, then that means that I'm going to show up in joy with the world. And then my joy, because everything in the world is energy, then my energetic field is going to be transmitting joy. Then the next person around me is going to feel that, whether they understand it or not, receive it or not, right? They are going to feel that joy. So a lot of my transformation, a lot of my journey was an understanding that being the giver is very egocentric if you don't allow the full reciprocity of the energy of giving and receiving. Giving cannot fulfill itself if it doesn't receive. Receiving cannot fulfill itself if it doesn't give. It takes both.
Yes, exactly. Oh, this is so, so, so important. And I hear now why, this makes so much sense. The alignment to that with where you are with Done with the Hustle of like.
So I didn't even talk about Done with the Hustle.
Wait, no, but
I
this
get so
is
excited. Wait, I have a book I have to promote. See how bad I am for my own things.
no, but this was what needed to be heard as well. Yes. So
Done with
yes,
the
tell
Hustle.
us a little bit about Done with the Hustle. And I'm gonna tag in then this question because I know we really wanted to get to it. It's I now that you're in this space of calling folks in to be done with the hustle, how do you think that this paradigm is shifting for entrepreneurs and Latinas and marginalized folks that are wanting to be in this movement of being done with the hustle?
Okay, before I get too excited, let me talk about the book. So I'm turning in the manuscript on Monday. Yay, me. It's been the hardest process in my life, I think, because as I said earlier, anything that you ever see me put out, an Instagram post, a threads, like anything comes from a place of embodiment. I will not share it unless I feel that I am there as well. So imagine a whole book where I'm talking about the process of releasing myself from this toxic hustle mentality, from the girl boss era that I benefited from so much, and leaning into this different space in my life. Yes, I'm 53, but no, I'm not talking about hustle being retirement. I am far from being retired. I am in a new stage of my life. I'm in a much more creative and beautiful stage of my life. So this book is called Done with the Hustle, a manifesto for women who don't have the luxury to rest. It is coming out with Harper One, which is a division of HarperCollins. It's like their wellness spirituality. So like authors like Chani and Paulo Coelho and The Alquimista, oh my God, and C.S. Lewis. I mean, so many, like, and I'm like, me. And then it's coming out at the same time, HarperCollins in Espanol, because for me, it was very important that the deal was made where both books came out at the same time. So I've been writing it. I wrote the proposal back in 2023, early 23. So it's been a while now that I've been working on this, and it had to take that time it had to take because I could not write a book about the hustle from the hustle. So this is a manifesto that is an invitation to a mindset shift. We are not going to change the hustle paradigm in our lifetime. We're not. But we have the opportunity to imagine a different way forward for us individually. And we're going back to everything that we've talked about, right? What is it? How are we going to shift so that we can eventually see the shift around us? And if that shift means I shifted and I broke an intergenerational pattern for my daughter, and then she's going to model that for her friends, for her own children, if she has, or for her partner, whatever it may be, that's the ripple effect that we're talking about. So this is, it's the book is that it's a manifesto, it's an invitation. I'm already writing a lot about what you probably are going to, the same tone of the topics I'm discussing in the book on my Substack. So you can follow me there. The posts are free when they come out for the first 4 weeks. Donewiththehustle.substack.com. And overall, I mean, to answer the other part of your question, what I'm seeing is for in entrepreneurship and at large of this like paradigm shift for Latinas and women of color regarding the hustle culture, it's what I'm seeing is it's beautiful, but it's a very complex shift. Because on the one hand, there's this really growing awareness that the traditional entrepreneurship model, and by traditional, we could say like the Silicon Valley move fast and break things mentality.
Right.
We're starting to recognize that it was never designed for us, definitely not by us, right? So we're starting to question the why we've been trying to fit into these systems. Like we've been assimilating and bending ourselves over backwards and exhausting ourselves to fit into systems that actually require us to disconnect from our values, to disconnect from our communities, and to disconnect from our natural rhythms. I mean, you can even see our previous Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, his parting words, he called it the parting prescription. I would definitely recommend that you guys search it up. And it's called the parting prescription for America. He put that out in January when he was leaving his position. And he called an epidemic of loneliness and isolation for the United States. And the prescription was community. The ailment, the medicine is community. Right? So community is also a way for us to start shifting the paradigm of the hustle and the paradigm of what does success really look like for us? What do I really want? What do I really, really want? So, Manuela, what you're doing here is incredibly important. You're definitely already part of this paradigm shift by standing in your own values, standing in your own truth, choosing a path that feels good for you,
Mm.
right? That feels good for you, and that you can bring that feel good feeling, that zone of joy into the world and transmit it to us in every one of your Wisdom Wednesdays and the way that you show up in the world.
Oh, thank you. Not me cry. Thank you, Anna. No, that I can't tell you what those words mean to me, and it's so important. Integrity is deeply, deeply important to me as well, and that was I very similar to you. I needed to have time to experience it, to work with what this new experience could be before I go out and try to support others with it. And that's now why we're still on this journey. I think the biggest thing I want folks to make sure we all hear is that we are not going to break and shift the entire paradigm
Yeah.
ourselves. We, I know for all of us that deeply are passionate, now that we've seen it, because you can't unsee it once you see it, we have that drive now to just want to create this new space, and it's coming. But it's okay that it's not fully here. It's okay that it's not fully created, because our steps right now that we're taking with Anna, with each of you being here and being in a space of curiosity, that's what we need right now.
Mm.
It's going to take all of us doing this in order to be able to shift this for ourselves. Hopefully, we're going to start doing it, even if it's in our own little pockets of movements, but also the ripples. Thank you, Anna, for talking about those ripples
Yeah.
that we get to experience, inspire others, and embody, and now watch other people embody. It was Anna's action that inspired me, and then now I'm doing it, and ripples are going out to other people, and it's just one of the most magical things that I never thought I would
So
experience.
beautiful. I know we're past time. I wanted to give one more reflection, because we are living one of the most difficult times that we've probably experienced here in the United States and across the world and many places. And as sometimes it's really hard to have these conversations about being centered in ourselves, about finding rest and saying rest is resistance. Highly recommend Trisha Hersey's book, Rest is Resistance, especially during these times. And I want to shout out really like the Black women movement. Read Audre Lorde, read Marie Brown, read Trisha Hersey, read Bell Hooks. They're really going to center us during these times when we feel that the way that we show up is by putting ourselves out there in the front lines and being activists and all that. And there is a place for that. There definitely is. But we have to understand that when the world looks really dark, when everything that is being pushed in our face is what feels as chaos, what feels as dismantling, it's because we're in the middle of a very important pivot and shift in the world. It's a very necessary shift. In the same way, like we were talking earlier, that we have to clean our own vessel, the world has to clean its own vessel as well, so that it can birth a new paradigm, so it can birth a new way of being that exists from love. And the reason why we're peeking through the veil and seeing the hate and seeing the darkness is because the light is so much stronger. That's why it's manifesting itself with so much force. So see the light. See it. Like when you turn on the news, don't watch the news. When you open your TikTok and Instagram and you're seeing all the atrocities happening. I mean, for me, living in California, moved away from LA 2 years ago, but LA is still my community. LA is my home still, my daughter's birthplace. It hurts me what's been happening in LA this year. But we have to center and go back that the reason why all of this is happening is because the love and the light is so much stronger. So that's where we're at right now. Look at us, looking at the conversations we're having. These conversations weren't being had 10 years ago, because we are taking the world to that place of light. We are. So the other,
That lighthouse. We are the lighthouse.
we are the lighthouse. It is. The light is actually much stronger right now than it has been.
Thank you so much, Anna. Before we jump off, because I ask this to every guest that comes, it's it's our final question. Living a life con fuerza is about reclaiming our inner power to live in alignment with our values. How are you choosing to live a life con fuerza, and what does living a life con fuerza with strength mean to you? I think we've answered this, but just
Yeah. Yes, again, living a life with courage, living a life with radical honesty, including myself in my own circle of care, speaking to my truth, even when my voice shakes, even when I want to be calladita y verme más bonita. And perhaps more importantly, it mean it means trusting the timing of my own unfolding, of my own rhythm.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Anna. It is an absolute privilege and joy. I want to be respectful of your time. So if you have to hop off, completely understand. I want to give folks a few reminders before we hop off today. But Anna, is there any final words or ways that we can support you?
I would really love to if have conversations with you on my Substack. I really love that place. It's long form. It feels less performative because we can have really deep conversations. So again, done with the hustle.substack.com. And I'm also really showing up there and on my Instagram. So, and anaflores.com is my website. I have not announced it. I haven't really publicized it, but I am working one-on-one with founders and community and event builders. And I am loving the work. So you can go to anaflores.com and you can see my offerings there if you want to, if you want to go on a journey with me. I'd love to support you.
Thank you so much, Anna. It is, as someone experiencing your Substack the past few months, it has been a joy. So highly encourage you. For all of you who are new to our space, every episode has a resource library page on our leadership and well-being resource library. So all of these resources, we're talking about the books, the Substack, Anna's website, Anna's stories, all this is going to be, and other podcasts that Anna has done if you want to hear more about her stories and perspectives. They're all going to be on that page, which is also linked here on LinkedIn in the comments section. Before we hop off, I do want to announce that we'll be hosting a new sustainable leadership series with Con Fuerza Experiences, so we can continue to do workshops that are more collaborative and we can talk about all of these different topics. The first workshop that we're going to launch is going to be on August 6th, and it's going to be talking about our garden of support. For those of you that haven't heard me, this garden of support is a space that I've talked about many, many times. That's called, sorry, I'm trying to share here. The garden of support is your opportunity to connect with your community, to be in space with other people, and to create intentional community spaces so we are able to collaborate and manage ourselves during this time. So for any of you that are interested in joining and continuing this conversation, I hope to see you on August 6th. All right, everyone, thank you so, so much for being here, for being present. I cannot wait to see all of you and to be able to continue these conversations. Have a beautiful rest of your Wednesday, and thank you, Anna, again. Go.